ceremony and Abby got back, the girls asked I could say, if I could just remember about what it was like. I met Yossi in 1981, or just tell people I met Yossi, I still needed a hairbrush. And I went ahead and when you ask a Jew to speak, you either do two things. You find somebody to ask, or you pick up the Chumash. And I looked at this week's parsha, and this week's parsha is Kiseitze. The first pasuk is Kiseitze lo Milchama. Your father didn't have a bad bone in his body. He didn't have a bad bone. The word Milchama, the only time he had Milchama was when he sent you for cigarettes or something. It was raining. The concept of conflict was so alien to him. So there went the whole parsha. Bingo, out the window. But what's good is because you guys have the whole Chabad connections. I didn't have to go to art school. I went to Goodnick. And excellent those Australians. And they have, after every parsha, they have a list of the mitzvot. They say, every parsha they sum it up. And Kiseitze has 74 of them. And I was going through all 74, and one of them came out is that when you see a Jew who has a burden, you're supposed to help him. That was your father. That your father, and he didn't. It wasn't about a physical. When he saw somebody needing help, like when I saw him at the hotel, sometimes he used to, people wanted to tip him. They thought he was a bellhop sometimes. They just saw him. But it wasn't that. It was, he just saw you can make your own burden lighter, and he was just like, he was walking Xanax. Because you could, anything you felt, anything, like sometimes, I used to talk to him, and, it was just, when we got together, and, I'm a miserable litvak, and I'm never happy, and talking to your father, by the time I was done, I should have had Oxford send him a check. It was, the mess, he was, and that's where the music, something, and that's where the music came from, and everyone's talking about the guitar and the music. That was all part of him. He wasn't a performer. I was telling your sister last time, your father wasn't a performer. Performer means when you get off the stage, you go back to being a miserable person or a lunatic or, it's like Donald Trump. He's a performer. He's done. That's it. Your father, the same, what you saw on the stage was what you saw in the house and in the car. He was always the same. And I was remembering with Yael, like after every, we sent you an invitation to the simcha. We never worried about a response card. The hotel, we just booked you. We never knew who was coming. We just had the Piamenta wing. Whoever is bringing, the Marnu, he's bringing the kids, he's bringing the married ones, whatever. He's bringing the neighbor. All good. That was Yossi. You couldn't be angry. You couldn't be. There was no frustration because he was so pure. And everyone always said he never needed music. He never needed charts. When he used to come up in Newark, when he came up to the hotel, he did shows. It was never a rehearsal. He never came in. He came up there, he just did his thing, and they were all wrong. He always had his music. His music wasn't the hill. Wherever he went, he didn't have Yisrael Land charts, he didn't have Laufer charts, he had David HaMelech charts. Wherever he went, he always had the Tehillim with him. Those were his charts. And that's why he didn't need a rehearsal, because that faith, that tachon, that got him through everything. Gershon Veroba, she got a big shayach. When he was at Sam Ash, she called me up and said, you're going into Brooklyn, you're picking up Yossi, you're bringing him to Sam Ash corporate in Hicksville. I got him in to see the guitar cold. This is just like a few months after your father was diagnosed. And Gershon wanted me to come because of my name, obviously, because they were hoping they would adopt me, but it didn't happen. What happened, but I went to Brooklyn, I picked up Yossi, we got in the car. In the beginning, he sounded frustrated about the matzah, the treatment. He was raving about Jeff on Maimonides, but he didn't. People in that matzah, it's natural to sound. Your father was just frustrated because he didn't have the anger. He didn't have anything else. That was the emotion he had. Other people would be angry. Other people would be. Your father was just frustrated at, on the progress thing, but it wasn't anger. And then we started talking about the kids. And I have to tell you something. We're parents. You just became parent. You bring your kids into the world. You have to be nice to them, because eventually you're going to be older. You need somebody to pick you up and take you shopping. Your father didn't talk about his kids. Like, he didn't have that Jewish fidelity thing. He admired you guys. He admired. You were working, I think, in like a sales in like a cellular store or something. One of you were, one of you were, every one of you, he was what you were doing, he was just admired. He like honestly respected all of you for where you were in lives. Wives, mothers, like running, everything you guys are running. But he talked about, like you talk about somebody in shul who you admire and respect. That's how he talked about his kids. It was a phenomenal thing. And then somewhere around the Midtown Tunnel, he picked up the film. I didn't hear from him again. He was sitting next to me. He asked me to open the window. That was it. He spoke. And then we got to Sam Ash, and he had them. And these guys, by the way, Sam Ash Corporate, they had everybody there. This is, and he had everybody just surrounding him. He had everybody just, it wasn't even being out of town, it was everyone. He connected with everybody. That's who he was. That's who he was as a person. The one thing, Moni's looking at his watch, I'm just going to finish. And he's actually looking at his wrist to see if he washed. What? Okay, no, he didn't hurt me. No, the one thing that and it's about 12 years ago actually, this week, we had a family, something in our family, they were making bar mitzvah, and the situation there where it was kind of stressful, and I wanted the bar mitzvah to be about who would be there, not who couldn't make it. And I called the people I knew, different performers, thinking we stopped by, it was in Bar Park, whatever, and I heard Yossi had a major gig in Teaneck that night, and it was right before the holiday season, it was trying to start, so I didn't want to get involved, and Yossi shows up. Uninvited, I may add. He shows up, and I went over to him, and I was like, that was when I got him to see him. I said, Yossi, what's going to be, and he said, this parnassah comes from God. It's spoke like this is me. And he didn't just play for 10 minutes. He stayed for the whole, he stayed for the whole thing. Stayed afterwards for pictures with the bar mitzvah boy, because he knew it was important. That's who my father was. And again, he was saying that what are we going to do with that? The legacy that he leaves behind. You're all right here. The little guy I gave the Tootsie Pop to, so he never said thank you. But besides that, no, he didn't have to. No, but seriously, that's the music. It's all part of it. The real music is all you that are here. That's what he's not. What are you going to do? You're not without him. This to me is the funniest thing. This is when it starts. I'm going to leave, but he finally made the cover of the Jewish Press. And what's really interesting is if you look at the article next to him, a passion for rare sperm. It talks about a sperm collector. Your father was the rarest of sperm. Your father was one of a kind, and every time you looked into him, you learned something new. When you open up a real sefer, every time you get a new chiddush, you find a new insight. Every time I spoke to your father, it was like the first time, no matter what's the cover. And y'all remind me when we used to finish the show in the hotel, till we finished talking after the show, it was already time for breakfast. And that's who he was. He was a fascinating human being in everything that makes a human being fascinating. And we should only have simchas from now on. And you people say, you say something else. Sorry, that's okay? Okay. The Ashkenazis do that. I don't know what. I know you got popcorn. Pesach after that.